children are much better than adults at learning languages. So you should learn languages like a kid, right? Wrong. I get a lot of these comments with this kind of logic, and there's a lot of advice out there. You should learn languages like a child, that kind of stuff, because it sounds good, it feels good, but it's terrible advice and you should avoid it, and the people giving you that advice as well. And I'm going to explain why. The problem with this kind of advice is that children have infinitely more time than you do to learn a language. Children can spend a lot more hours a day practicing their native language when they're learning it, and also other languages when they go to school or they watch cartoons or whatever. They have a lot more hours to spend learning, and a lot more years to spend learning, because they can afford to. You can't afford to, but children can afford to waste a decade or spend a decade, if you think it's a good investment, watching cartoons and playing around with video games, that kind of stuff, and they'll very slowly learn something. And when they get to the 20s, they'll have some basic vocab that they know, or a bunch of vocab that they know at least, and they'll have a basic idea of how the language works. And then that will probably help them to achieve fluency if they do a year or two of serious learning. But for most people, if you try that as an adult, it's not going to work. And even for children, if you just do that with your kids, they're not going to learn. I used to work with a lot of people from the Balkans, Romanians, Serbians, Croatians, and for some reason, Spanish-speaking telenovelas are really popular among women there. So a lot of the guys I knew, used to work with, that were from that area, had grown up with Spanish telenovelas on at home the whole time while the mom was watching it, right? So that hundreds, probably thousands of hours of that nonsense. It's terrible, like if you do those shows. But when I started speaking, where are you from? I can speak some Spanish, and they start saying some really random stuff that was pretty funny, like ¿Dónde está el patrón? Or Yo soy tu verdadero padre, that kind of stuff, and all those really dramatic telenovelas, like all that stuff they say in those things. But it was just random sentences with no connection, and they weren't able to understand the language really, and they weren't able to speak it to have a normal conversation either. None of that. They just knew quite a lot of vocab and a bunch of sentences that they could then say in a funny way, but that's it. And that was after years and years of getting exposed to TV in Spanish. So unless and those people, if they actually tried learning Spanish seriously at that point, they'd improve fast, because they've got that base of having spent a lot of years listening to that stuff and learning vocabulary passively and all of that. But that's the extent of its usefulness. That's it. If you don't do serious studying, that's as far as you'll go. And also, I had someone in the comments the other day saying that Duolingo and comprehensible input videos and learning through YouTube videos and all of that has a place. Like Duolingo and comprehensible input videos have a place because children learn better with them. And I do agree they have a place in a gulag when I come to power. But if you have kids and you want them to learn a language, it's maybe a good idea to introduce them to the language by having them play video games or watch videos of whatever they're into in the language. But, you could skip Duolingo directly and just give them whatever games they're into, and they'll probably enjoy them in the language, all right? But apart from that, no, massive waste of time, both Duolingo and the comprehensible input channels. And again, children have a decade. You don't. Or maybe you think you do, but in a decade you'll be old, all right? Children can spend several hours a day watching videos. They're probably already doing that in the native language. So you can have them do that in another language as well, and they'll slowly learn something that then they can actually activate and get fluent with proper learning later on in life. But you don't have the time for that. And if you try to do that on your own, what you're going to get is many hours wasted, thousands of hours wasted, years of your life that you wanted to speak a language but you couldn't because you were doing your silent period or your 600 hours of drooling Spanish or whatever nonsense, instead of actually working on improving your speaking skills. Because most of you want to learn a language to have conversations, to speak the language, and for that, all of that is a waste of time. You can't make children learn long lists of vocabulary and long lists of sentences through repetition and work deliberately because they're children, right? It's hard work. But any moderately intelligent adult should be able to do that, all right? If you need your learning to be gamified or you need for it to come as entertainment, then you're not gonna make it. Sorry, but this world is not for you. Like, that was okay when you were a child, but if you're over 20 and you still think like that, you're not gonna make it. So yeah, if you seriously want to learn a language, like seriously want to learn it and speak it well, fluently, and understand the language well, like I said, only 3 things you need to do. First, you need to learn long lists of sentences with all the vocabulary. That's important. All the high frequency verbs and the adjectives as well. And then all the sentences that you want to use in conversation, or all the topics you want to talk about. Write everything down, learn those sentences. Then a lot of listening with those same sentences, and also eventually when you understand those easily, then with authentic adult materials. Adult material sounds pretty bad, right? I mean, material for adults, not like the that kind of adult materials. Or if you're into that, okay, then go ahead. But yeah, a lot of listening to authentic materials, the kind of stuff you listen to in your native language. And then, of course, this is the important part that most people miss, because it's the thing that takes the most hard work. You need a lot of speaking practice, and you need to do a lot of drills, a lot of listening and repeating, shadowing, translation work, and a lot of trying to talk to yourself and record yourself, and then listen to the recordings, and you take notes and write more sentences you want to learn, and you try to talk to yourself again, and you keep doing this over and over again. And this is the part where most people fail, because it's hard work, all right? But you need to do all 3. Again, learn a lot of useful vocabulary and sentences in general. You don't need grammar. If you learn enough sentences, you learn all the grammar in context. Then number 2, you do a lot of listening. And number 3, you do a lot of speaking on your own, a lot of speaking drills. And I'm numbering them, but it's not a specific order of. You shouldn't do them like first we learn the sentences, then we do the listen. No, you should do all 3 every day, right? But that's it. So again, the learn like a child thing is absolute nonsense. If you've got children and you want them to learn a language well, then okay, yeah, have them play video games, have them watch YouTube videos, whatever, and they'll learn very slowly, but they'll learn something. But if you yourself, as an adult, want to learn a language and you want to get some results, don't do that. You're wasting your time.